Welcome to Barnburner, the world's largest consumer pitch competition, hosted by Sweater and Foundermade. 3 finalists will be pitching their companies live in New York City for a chance at a $250,000 investment into their startup. And the best part, you get to decide who wins. Cast your vote in the Sweater app by June 9th and help decide who will come out on top. Hi, I'm your host, Jesse Randall. Let's get this Barnburner started. Jesse Randall, I'm the CEO of Sweater, and I'm very happy to be your host today. And more important than me, though, we've got our amazing founders here on the front row. Let's give them a hand. So I wanted to give you just a little bit of an insight into what this is all about. Barnburner is about shining the spotlight on founders who have done amazing things and have incredible visions for the future. And the best part is we've organized a $250,000 prize that one of them is going to walk away from in this. And you, as the audience members, and everyone who will be voting from home after this live event, are going to be the ones who select which founder goes home with that investment from Sweater. So we're so excited for you to be here, and as part of this, I want to make sure it's known that we're doing this in partnership with Foundermade, who's making all of this possible here in New York. So let's invite Michelle on up to the stage. So wonderful to have you here.
It's amazing to be here. So we were just talking about this, and a fun fact that some of you might know, some of you might not, but is an important note to touch on. Foundermade started as a pitch competition. Foundermade's mission is to help founders build. So Jesse and I met in Boulder when I went to the Barnburner that was happening out there, and it was like the TED of pitch competitions. And so we sat down over a cup of coffee, as one does, and said, what could be possible if we partner and if we bring this vision to Foundermade, New York City, where it all began. So here we are.
That's
so another round of
applause
for that. And for us, the opportunity to partner with platforms like Sweater and to be able to offer the funding that Sweater does and to be able to append that really to what we built within Foundermade. So for those of you who've been at the Foundermade show, we offer retail, certainly opportunities like this for funding, media, incredible resource partners. There is nothing you can't find if you are building a product company, if you're building a company that supports product companies. That's why we're here. This is why we're so proud to be building this partnership. So thank you for all of you here bringing your energy. Thank you to the founders who will be pitching today, and may the best win.
Yes, that's right. All right.
As it goes.
Yeah, and it's exciting. So for those who aren't familiar with Sweater, so Sweater's a technology platform that's opening up the venture capital asset class to the general public. You don't have to be wealthy to invest and get involved in startups. So for everyone that's curious about it, you can go download the app and you can actually engage in the world of venture capital. You don't have to write $1 million checks to get involved. So as part of that, within this event, you'll actually be able to vote in the Sweater app for the founders after they've pitched. So if you want, you can go and download the app right now in advance and get going. If you're watching from home, go ahead and do that. We've got this QR code that's gonna be down here for the entire competition. And then throughout the virtual experience, you'll be able to find that as well. You go into the App Store, download the Sweater app, and you'll be directed in to vote for Barnburner so that your vote can count and you can actually contribute to this. So with that said, I wanted to give you just a little bit of background of how these founders got here. We're going to give you a video here in just a minute that shows some of the backstory. But overall, they went through a very rigorous venture capital grade process to be vetted to actually be here today. So from our perspective as Sweater, who's one of the ones that's writing at least a portion of the check for this, is that we've put them through this grade where we're willing to invest in any of these 3. And so they've worked with our investment team back in Boulder, Colorado, and they've answered a lot of questions and provided us a lot of materials, and we've done our own independent research to make sure that all of these are well venture qualified companies. So with that, why don't we jump in and get a little bit more background in this first video. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right.
When I got the email, I literally saw the email come through. I was out on the sidewalk and I just go,
getting that note from Cash, like holy poop, you know, I made it to the next round.
Oh my God, when we found out, we were so excited for so many reasons. It was just such an honor to be selected as a finalist.
And then as soon as I previewed, you know, you tap to preview. I saw you said we made the final 3, are a little emotional. You know, we're just in it every single day, and we rarely stop to look at how far we've come.
Well, I literally just got off the train from DC about 10 minutes ago, rushing here, just thinking about tomorrow's pitch, thinking about the event.
Flying into the city and just kind of like seeing the city, and it just got us like even more excited. And we realized just like the magnitude of this event.
It's definitely surreal being here. I can only imagine the amount of founders and all these amazing startups that applied. I can't even imagine how Sweater narrowed it down to 3 finalists, and me being one of 3 is just insane.
For these founders who made it to round 2, it was a really rigorous process in a very short amount of time. We had a 30-minute phone call with each of the founders, and then we did a digging into their data rooms, understanding more about the market, team, go-to-market, acquisition strategy, financials, traction, everything that would go into that thought process of assessing a normal deal outside of Barnburner as well.
All right, what have you been up to?
Just been back-to-back on founder calls.
How many have you done so far?
8.
And how many do you have left for the day?
I have 4 founders that I love the most, especially in CPGs, when I'm on the call and as they're talking about it, I'm like, dang, I gotta order this.
So if they can get you excited for it, then you know they can get their customers
Then they can get
excited.
anyone excited about it, and they can also get other investors excited about it. The role of a CEO and a founder, a big portion of it is raising capital, especially in the startup world, and I have to believe they can raise capital again as well.
E-commerce teams have to be small. With CPG brands, we need to see that they can do a lot themselves. Every investor says, yeah, we believe in the founder, but in CPG, they're not gonna have the luxury of being able to hire a VP for this, a VP of that, a VP of that. They have to wear all the hats. That's why it's really nice to meet with 30 CPG founders and say, okay, which ones have that secret sauce in their model and in their product and in their channel, and then which ones on top of that have that founding team that we can really believe can do it.
That's how we ultimately landed on the 3 companies that moved forward.
I think I'm psyched.
I'm like pumped up. We've kind of been working up to this for the last week, and I know it's only been a week, but it's kind of been like it's consumed us for the last 10 days, just preparing for it and thinking about the message that we want to give and tell people.
What Allison and I are doing is very personal, and it comes from a very earnest place.
Well, winning the $250,000 investment, for one thing, it would be validation that, you know, what I'm building, you know, what we're accomplishing is actually meaningful in the eyes of a mass audience. And number 2, personally, it's just like another testament that all the hard work that we're doing up to now is turning into fruition.
I think if it hasn't come across, we're really grateful. This is just something we'll never forget, and so we're just really happy.
So with that quick intro, we're gonna jump in and actually start the pitch process. So you'll see with every set of founders, we've done a background video. Feels a little bit like America's Got Talent or maybe American Idol. And you'll get that background on each of them and how their journey has brought them to this point. And then you'll hear their live pitch. So with that, let's start with our first founder.
We want to make Filipino food such a common, enjoyable, delicious treat that everyone in the US will be familiar with it. It just ties back to my family history of bringing food as love and food equals hard work, but realizing that into reality. Hi, I'm Jake. I'm the founder of Philomena. I'm a first-generation Filipino-American immigrant, and my family, with most immigrant families, food was always a centerpiece of our household. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. Actually, my first memories in the food business was helping my mom make these Filipino delicacies in her kitchen. We would just then resell them to friends and family for extra household income. So even at that early age, there was just something magical and exciting about making something yourself and then selling it to someone in exchange for money, and you make them happy, right? So, you know, I did that, and then even I remember during middle school, I would sell like candy on the side as well. You know, I carried that into what I did as a living in corporate life as kind of like food. You know, I did some marketing for big food companies. I think looking back in my childhood, it's that I love to build things. I love food, and I love brand building. So I left that world behind and I started my first food startup, which is actually an almond milk company. It was called Origin Almond. And I started that at a table at our local farmer's market. And then, I built that from that farmer's market to distribution with like Whole Foods and Walmart. March 2020 was actually our highest revenue month to date. And then you can imagine what happened during that time. When the lockdowns and when COVID hit, so much of our revenue was tied to store traffic. And sadly, we had to discontinue that brand. But I believe that during every dark period, there's always something good that can come out of it. And so Philomena came out of this dark period. And what happened was that in May 2020, I saw an article that talked about in some areas of the US, upwards of 20% of the healthcare workforce fighting on the front lines of COVID were Filipino. So then, I saw this gap in representation and I figured, hey, Filipino food is amazing. Media is always saying that Filipino food is on the cusp of emergence. And so I figured this might be the right time to start the first Filipino-American food business. And that's how Philomena was ultimately born. I like to joke that in true immigrant grit, I used my stimulus check and then I invested it into buying a few things on Amazon. And I built the first prototypes of our very first line of products, which were cooking sauces. So we launched officially in November 2020, just a few months after from when the idea first came about. We launched one product line, cooking sauces, in one store in the New York City area. Fast forward to today, you could find us in about 1,000 stores across the US with retail partners like Whole Foods, Target, Sprouts. If I think about where I came from, part of me every day wants to have what I'm doing make my parents proud. I mean, they worked so hard to provide for my brother and I. Every time we get some accolades or traction in the company, I usually tell my mom, like launching into Target, we had a viral TikTok video about her finding out for the first time when she was in the Target. With my dad, sadly, he passed away last year, but prior to that, I was his full-time caregiver for about 6 months. So, he had the opportunity in the last stages of his life to see how Philomena was growing rapidly and how, his son that he helped to raise in the US as an immigrant was doing something pretty magical and amazing. Ultimately, I think my dream is that one day down the road, if you think about so many successful food brands, like if you think about peanut butter and chocolate, you think about Reese's, you think about macaroni and cheese, you probably think about Kraft. For us, it's that one day when you think about all these Filipino foods, it's like, oh, did you mean Philomena? And like, congratulations. That's how you become a billion-dollar brand.
All right. Okay, everybody welcome Jake from Philomena.
Hello. Hi.
All right, Jake, so I've got to ask. So when did your parents and you emigrate to the United States, more or less?
They moved to the US back in the early 1980s.
Okay, yeah. So growing up then, I mean, it sounds like your mom was a wonderful cook. What was your favorite, most nostalgic thing that she would make for you?
So I'd say Filipino adobo is probably the unofficial national dish of the Philippines, but honestly, it was our comfort food growing up. If you never tried it, the best way to describe it, it's like a combination of umami, salty, savory flavors rolled into one. It's the most delicious thing ever tried.
I can't wait to try it. That's awesome. And that's one of your products now, right?
It happens to be one of our products, yes.
Okay, it's great. Well, everyone, give a big hand for Jake. Good luck.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jake DeLeon. I am the founder of Philomena, and I happen to be a first-generation Filipino-American immigrant. In my case, that means I was born in the Philippines and raised in the exotic land of New Jersey. So I'm not sure for many of you, but in my family, food was always the centerpiece of our household. Growing up, I always learned that food was equal to love and food was always equal to hard work. When I think about hard work, my earliest memories in the food business was helping my mom make Filipino delicacies in our kitchen, which we would then resell to friends and family for extra income. You see, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so any way we can bring extra revenue into the family was always welcome. When I think about food as equal to love, going to school, I remember being teased about my lunches being so different than your typical lunch that someone else may have, right? So going home super sad and being treated to a nice warm bowl of adobo or some Filipino delicacy that my mom would cook as comfort food. But I always say that life is kind of ironic. I mean, fast forward, I end up working in a career in food marketing for companies like Procter & Gamble and Starbucks. For P&G, I worked on brands like Pringles in Japan and Iams and Yukonuba in Asia Pacific. So basically, I built billion-dollar brands in the fastest-growing regions of the world. Then I moved over to Starbucks, and basically, I was tasked with growing the business in China and launching the brand into Vietnam. But with most crazy entrepreneurs, I had this feeling in me, I love to brand build, I love food, and I love to create. And so I left that world behind and I went back to the US and I started my first startup, which was Origin Almond, the almond milk company. So armed with $500 and a table at my local farmer's market, I grew that into distribution with Whole Foods and Walmart, and even Kraft Heinz was the earliest investor. Fast forward back to March of 2020, that was our highest revenue month to date, and sadly, since so much of our revenue was tied to store traffic, once the lockdowns hit and people stopped going to the stores, our revenues declined 80% in the span of 6 weeks. So sadly, we had to discontinue the brand. And it was during that dark period, I look back on that in full gratitude. I think for 3 reasons. Number one, our product was refrigerated, so we sold off all of our inventory. Number 2, I had friends with businesses 20 times larger than my own that lost everything overnight. And number 3, honestly, my parents didn't get sick, I didn't get sick, those who I care about didn't get sick. So it's hard to feel sorry for yourself when the world was suffering around you, but I believe that in every dark period, there's always a glimmer of hope that comes through. If that didn't happen, Philomena would not have happened as well. And so I saw an article in May of 2020 that talked about in some areas of the US, upwards of 20% of the healthcare workforce fighting on the front lines of COVID were Filipino. And it's almost like a funny inside joke in most Filipino families. We have at least 7 cousins who are nurses, technicians, or doctors, except for this weirdo who's in the food business. And then it made me think, wow, I know about myself, but I don't know about my community. And that was kind of a mind-blown moment, and it inspired me to do research. And it turns out we are a thing. At the time, Filipinos are the second largest Asian American group in the US, the largest in 11 states, including California. Fun fact, in California, Tagalog is the 3rd most spoken language outside of English and Spanish. But my brain goes, wait a minute, if this is true, why is it when I go to the Whole Foods, the Targets, the Wegmans, the Publix, the Kroger's of the world, there's actually 0 representation of delicious food on the shelf? So it was kind of like that lack of representation and that conviction to change that, and that's how Philomena was born. So in true immigrant grit, I used my stimulus check and I built the first prototype of Philomena. I spent that summer of 2020 selling it into retail, and November of 2020, we landed our first retail account, which is Whole Foods in New York City. So fast forward, we started in 2020 with 1 product line, 1 store in New York. 3 years later, we could find us in 1,000 stores across the US with Target, with Whole Foods, and with Sprouts. And we went from 1 product line to 3 award-winning product lines like sauces, breads, and condiments. Bon Appetit said we are the best they've ever tried. We were #1 seller on Amazon, outselling McCormick and Goya at their own game. But if you look at kind of the macro of it too, it's we were able to show 2 things with the data. The first is that Filipino food is the fastest growing cuisine in the US. When I say the fastest, it's outpacing the nearest by a factor of 24. Number 2, Philomena is actually leading all of that growth. We have 96% market share in the fastest growing cuisine in the US right now. Every day, we hear stories across the US from folks saying that the first time they tried Filipino food was through Philomena. It's that kind of inspiration and those kind of stories that they give us comfort and pride that we're working towards our mission to representing the next generation of Filipino American flavors. So that one day, the cuisine that I was mocked and teased about as a kid will be so commonplace that it becomes a delicious everyday meal for all of America. Thank you.
All right. How's that feel to have that done now?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go out of here, guys. See you later.
All right, wonderful. Well, great job.
Thank you.
Let's move on to our next set of founders.
So I saw these 2 problems. The first problem being this overwhelming consumer marketplace, and then also this opportunity to really make a difference and to enrich people's lives and do more than just selling a product. And I realized that I can make a difference and address both of these issues through my brand. My name is Nadia Porter, and I'm the founder and CEO of Coop. I personally developed really sensitive skin in my 30s. I had chronic urticaria all over my face and neck for almost a year, where I felt like I almost couldn't leave the house. I saw a number of dermatologists who started talking to me about the ingredient lists of my luxury skincare products, and they said that there were a number of common sensitizers that were likely causing the hives. So then at the beginning of COVID, I went on my favorite skincare brand to look for a new moisturizer, and they had 19 different moisturizers to choose from just in that brand. And I was just like completely overwhelmed. And I thought, if me as a qualified esthetician specializing in skin therapy has a problem when shopping for skincare, I just thought, you know, how is everybody else feeling? There was obviously a problem in the marketplace, and I thought, why don't I go out and solve it? And I felt that I had a unique background to be able to be the person to solve that. I remember my grandmother visiting from Egypt. She didn't speak a word of English, and the way that I connected with her is one day she saw me plucking my eyebrows, and she just like grabbed my arm and she just went like that, and then she took me to the kitchen and she started to make like homemade sugaring for wax, and I watched her just make the sugar. And I really take the concept of like natural ingredients that obviously have been used in beauty for centuries in our products today. It's really scary, like there's so many fad ingredients out there, and I wanted to create a product that you don't have to think about that. It's like there's nothing in there that's gonna make you react. We just left everything out, and you could just trust that that's gonna work and that it's going to be kind to your skin. I had a little bit of an unorthodox childhood. I'm a child trafficking survivor, and you know, I was a very young age when everything happened, and I didn't finish high school as a result of that as well. Eventually, when I was in my late teens, my parents just wanted to give me some kind of an opportunity. So they put me in school to be an esthetician. And being an esthetician was like the first normal thing that I ever did. The friendships that I made in spas were like the healthiest friendships I ever had. I was bullied really badly as a kid, and you know, you don't really make friends in a situation like the one that I was in when I was a kid. So I just have a really soft spot for the beauty industry. It's very welcoming and open, and there's a place for everybody in it. As I kind of moved through my career and I went to college as a mature student, I always wanted to return to beauty, and I was just so happy when I found this opportunity to be able to do something not only that like fuels my passion for beauty, but also fuels my passion for helping people and making a difference. For every single product that we sell, we donate $1 to anti-sex trafficking initiatives, and that is a non-negotiable for us. That will always come off the top line. It's who we are, it's part of our brand and what we stand for. Another thing that was really important to me is that I want people, when they interact with our brand, to feel inspired and feel like they're part of something. So our art program is just super unique. We put an art call out 3 times a year, and the winner of the art call, their artwork is printed on the side of our packaging. I spent a large portion of my life feeling like I didn't belong, or like I stuck out, or like I couldn't express myself just because of my own history. So I just really want people to feel like they can express themselves and feel excited. The wider mission of our brand is to inspire people and to support important causes. Look where we are, right? We're like in an outdoor shopping center. Look how many stores and consumer products and brands there are. Like, can you imagine if we can walk here and we bought 3 or 4 things, and I'm just one person, and there's thousands of people walking through the shopping center every day. So like, we can make thousands and thousands of small contributions to impact on such a wider global scale. It's an incredible opportunity for brands to just be more than just selling a product. And we're really inviting other brands to join us so that we can create a consumer world where every time that you buy something, you're doing something more, you're contributing to something that's important and enriching people's lives and communities.
All right. All right. Let's welcome Nadia from Coop. Wonderful. So, if I could ask you a question, you've put something very personal to you as the core of your mission in this. So how does it feel to have the general public resonate with that when they discover your product?
I mean, we chose our cause for obvious reason. We chose trafficking because of my background as a child trafficking survivor, but it's more about the 40 million people worldwide that are trafficked every year, and 300,000 of them right here in America, which is just an estimate because those are just the numbers that are actually reported. So it's probably a lot more. So it just feels great to be able to put a passion of mine into the brand and work together as a community with the world.
That's wonderful. All right, well, it's your turn. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right, let's go. Okay, give her a hand.
Thank you. So just a little bit of background. I wrote this big pitch that I've been preparing for like 10 days. And then when I was on the plane ride over here from Atlanta, I was reading it and I'm like, I can't like just recite a pitch. It's just not authentic. So I'm just gonna tell you a story, and I'm gonna tell you how I started Coop and why what we're doing is so important. So about 5 years ago, when I had chronic hives all over my face and neck for almost a year, it wasn't just about the physical manifestation of the reaction that I was having. It was very emotional. I remember sitting in meetings and people looking at my face and feeling like they were judging me or feeling shameful. And it was just awful. I mean, you saw in the video, they were just so inflamed and red. And after I talked to top dermatologists that told me that the products that I was using, but also the amount of products I was just layering too much, was causing this reaction that I had been living with for a year, I did so much research. And I looked not only into ingredients, but I looked into the market and I learned a few things. The first thing that I learned is that in America, we allow 1,400 toxic ingredients that are not allowed in products in Europe. And only 300, by the way, are banned in Canada, so they're not that much ahead of us. But you know, Europe is definitely the gold standard of clean beauty. I also learned that 71% of adult Americans have sensitive skin. So that's like over 200 million people that are suffering with skin sensitivities. I also learned that cleansers and moisturizers are the most purchased products in the category, which makes sense because whether you're a two-stepper like me or you have multiple steps in your routine, it always starts and ends with a cleanser and a moisturizer. They are hands down the most important products in your routine, and they really should be doing all the heavy lifting, and everything else is gravy. So this combined with everything that I learned and my own experience is what prompted me to start Coop. We are constantly oversold products. There is a problem in the consumer marketplace, across industries really, but I really found it in cosmetics and personal care. We are constantly told to buy products to make ourselves feel better, to be more perfect, to strive for that picture of somebody on Instagram that is just filtered, when actually we are perfect exactly the way that we are. So after 2.5 years, or through 2.5 years, I developed a range of 5 products. Cleansers and moisturizers. We have 2 cleansers and 3 moisturizers. I developed all of our formulas under European standards, so we leave out those 1,400 ingredients that are banned in Europe and that can be toxic or harmful or carcinogenic. I also left out 39 common sensitizers, things like essential oils, SLS, fragrance, certain irritating preservatives, to make sure that nobody ever had a reaction like I did ever again. We also simplified the purchase journey. I remember standing in the skincare aisles, like completely baffled by indescriptive product names that don't really help the purchase journey at all. And we named everything exactly what they are. We called our gel cleanser, and our lightweight moisturizer, and so on. So that the purchase journey is easy, and we're actually helping the consumer make the best decision for their skin. And all this was really important, developing the formulas and making sure that they were safe and clean and that customers can trust our formulas. But what was really important to me personally was doing more for people and communities. So we do this in 2 ways. We donate $1 of every single product sold to anti-sex trafficking initiatives. And that's just my cause. Obviously, it's personal to us. But we're really trying to invite and inspire other brands to join us on our journey. Because if COVID taught us anything, we've learned that when we do things together, we can do amazing things and have amazing impact. The second thing is it was really important for me to inspire people, and that when they interacted with our brands, they saw themselves and they felt inspired and encouraged to express themselves. So we have an art call, and 3 times a year, the winner of the art call is printed on the side of our packaging, and we do a big PR push to promote the emerging artist. Our first art call, we had 140 submissions. And this was when we were just still, we're still an infant company, but it was just completely overwhelming. And it just proved that people want to be involved in brands. They don't just want to buy something. You want to be involved and you want to see yourselves in the products and the brands that you're supporting. Sorry, I just love what we're doing. I needed a minute. So we launched 6 months ago, and in just 6 months, we have proven our concept by winning 2 awards. We're also in national mass distribution and top-tier retailers. We are in 300 retail locations in just 5 months, and we're gonna be in 1,000 by the end of the year. So I'm inviting everybody to join us on our journey to make a better consumer world. to ditch the complicated, and to get clean skincare and support a cause that is important to you. Thank you very much.
Well done. Well done. Very brave to ditch your pitch and do it from the heart.
I feel like I forgot some stuff at the end. I was like, shoot.
That was great, but it feels good to get it done, right? Yeah. All right, so just one reminder for those here and those that are out with us virtually, remember to download the app and get ready to vote. We've got one more pitch left, so let's clear the stage and make room for the last one. All right.
What I started thinking about was when was the last time that I was present and happy. And that was on this hike that I went upstate New York. I mean, nature is just so many things, and I think that's also what motivates us, that we're creating something that's so much bigger than the apparel and so much bigger than us.
I'm Allison.
I'm Chelsea.
And we're the co-founders of HikerKind. We met, what was it, like 8 years ago? In fashion. We were both stylist assistants, and we were working on a job for Gucci.
A little bit of bonding through trauma.
Yeah.
But in a way that was boot camp for us.
It was grueling, for sure. I didn't feel like I was aligned with the industry. I didn't feel like that was the person I wanted to become. And so I, at the same time as Chelsea, was looking for something different.
That's also what connected us.
Yeah.
Instantly. I didn't believe Allison when she's like, I like to hike. And I was like, no, you don't. Because no one in these rooms or on set ever liked to hike. Allison was preparing for a trip, and she called me and asked me what I thought about getting a few things. And that was like the first conversation I remember of us just commiserating.
Yeah.
Just being like,
I feel like, oh no, like I have to go and buy this pink t-shirt because that's the only wool t-shirt I can find.
We always say, like, the only thing you can control in nature is what's on your back. And so for me, that last bit, getting the clothing, which I thought was gonna be the easiest part because that's what I did.
Yeah, like
I literally sourced clothing for a living for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll leave it to last. But I found it so incredibly difficult, and it kind of rocked my confidence, which was something that I needed. And that's why we created HikerKind. Hi, welcome to our studio. What we loved about the space was that it could be a community hub.
Yes.
So we have our office here. We still pick and pack all of the orders. And then we created this front area to be our showroom and our studio so that people could come shop. And then we started throwing events in the studio.
There's the assumption that the outdoors is not really a big part of New Yorkers' lives, but there is this subsect community, kind of like this counterculture almost of outdoor people. The number one thing that people say when they come on our hike club is, I wanted to go hiking, but none of my friends wanted to go with me.
It's hard to make friends outside of your existing circles.
As an adult.
Especially as an adult. The best memories I have in my life, and especially out in nature, are with other people. The outdoor industry and the people we've met in it are just so welcoming, and it really feels like everybody is lifting everybody up. And that's unique.
Yes.
Did not feel that way at times in like luxury fashion.
Yes. We kind of compare a business to a hike.
Yeah. So many comparisons.
In that, like, every time you get up to a peak, you're like, okay, I've made it. Now how much further can I go? And that's really like what it is with the business.
Sometimes you take a wrong turn.
Yeah.
And then you just have to admit to the entire hike club that you've taken a wrong turn.
And we have to
turn around and go the other way.
Yeah.
And we've also made the comparison that we're not on a day hike here at HikerKind. We're on a through hike.
Yeah.
When we started talking in our living rooms about HikerKind, it was never granular. It was always
big picture.
Big picture. And really just wanting to help this new wave of outdoor creatives and outdoor brands. We want to be a part of that because there's a lot of work to be done.
All right. Very nice. Okay, let's welcome on founders Chelsea and Allison from HikerKind. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we got both of you up here. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question. I've got to know from each of you individually, where's your favorite place in the world to hike?
In the world?
Wherever you've been, you have to have been.
So
Yeah.
difficult to answer.
I think mine's pretty easy. I know my favorite hike. Go. It's Bontecu Crag up in Mohonk Mountain. It's this amazing, it's a very easy hike, but there's this one section that has like this rock face that's just all bouldering. And we actually took our hike club there, and all of us just like working together to get up this mountain and accomplishing that together was just probably one of the most special moments we had on trail with the club, but I've just been there so many times and I just love the challenge.
How about for you?
I can't follow that. Okay. I don't know. There's so many hikes, but one that I remember is we did a part of our campaign shoot in Boise, Idaho. And I thought it was really interesting because it's someplace that I would never think to shoot an outdoor campaign, but it was completely otherworldly. And it really transformed you into like a total other realm, and that's what I loved about it.
That's wonderful. Well, I am a sucker for Idaho because I grew up there.
Yep.
So. All right, well, the stage is yours.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Hi, I'm Allison.
I'm Chelsea, and together we are the founders of HikerKind. As two hikers and graduates of the Fashion Institute of Technology, we met during our decade-long careers in the luxury fashion industry. We have over 1,000 miles hiked between us, I think, and the outdoors is really where we feel like the most authentic versions of ourselves. And we wanted to create a world that embodies this feeling because we were tired of wearing this hiker costume. We could only find clothing and gear that made us feel like we weren't ourselves. And it was in these girly colors, like pink, purple, and teal. It also didn't fit us well, and it definitely didn't perform well. And so I want the men in the room to imagine a scenario where you're going to buy a pair of hiking boots. You go to your local outfitter and you meet the sales associate who brings out the only option, and I mean it, this is the only option available to you in the shop. It is so painfully clear that this is the same narrow form as the women's shoe, except made bigger and colored boy colors. How does that make you feel? Because this is exactly how we feel every time we go shopping for outdoor gear.
We as women make up 46% of all US outdoor consumers, yet the features that we look for when purchasing gear remain underserved. The industry itself is largely a boys' club, with just 12.5% of the largest outdoor companies being led by women. So it's clear, these brands are guessing at what women want and coming up with this shrink it and pink it formula. We have the solution and are demanding presence and relevance. With our extensive backgrounds in both fashion and the outdoors, we are building HikerKind, a premium women's outdoor brand and hiking community.
So with HikerKind, we create gear that makes people feel comfortable, confident, and prepared for hiking. But people are looking for more than just new gear. They are looking for connection. And so with HikerKind Hike Club, we support local communities by hosting group hikes and events. And these foster opportunities for people to come together and create those authentic connections with themselves and each other in nature.
We launched in June of 2021 with our debut product, which Chelsea is wearing, Midlayer 01, a sustainable reinterpretation of the classic fleece. We strategically chose to work with Polartec, which is the heritage mill that invented the fleece back in the 1970s, and use a revolutionary recycled iteration of this original material. When designing the midlayer, we considered style as a part of function. Every detail intentionally selected to enhance performance, wearability, longevity, and confidence.
People buying our midlayer have let us know that they are overjoyed with the fit, the feeling, and the quality, and that it for once feels true to them. And so our beta season proved that we're right for this role, and what we're doing is resonating at a time when more people than ever are hiking. HikerKind's Hike Club has grown 6 times since our launch, and we recently opened up our second chapter on the West Coast. HikerKind has been featured in The Cut, Vogue, Condé Nast Traveler, Forbes, Gear Patrol, and more. And Midlayer 01 received a Polartec Apex Award for Design Innovation, as well as being named one of the best fleeces of 2022 by Outside Magazine. And so we've grown our assortment from 1 piece in 1 colorway to 7 pieces in 3 color stories in a very short period of time. And this introduced our transitional system of dressing, which looks and performs just as well here in New York City as it does out on the trail.
And by diversifying our offering, we saw a 212% increase in sales year over year.
But this is just the beginning. With a lower barrier of entry than any other outdoor activity, hiking is the gateway to exploring the outdoors. Once someone has crossed over that threshold, the opportunity to outfit them for backpacking, camping, fishing, canoeing, climbing, gardening, everything within their outdoor lifestyle is boundless. HikerKind exists to inspire people to step out of their comfort zone and onto the trail. We are building a company as enduring as the mountains that we hike on, bringing value to your time spent outdoors by creating a place where we all can feel comfortable, confident, and prepared outside. Thank you.
Very good. Stay here. Stay here. Great job. Great job. Now, it's hard to pitch with two people.
Yeah.
You guys did a great job. Very polished.
Thank you so much.
It's done. Sigh of relief.
Yeah.
All right. Now, it's time to invite all the other founders. Come on up. All right. Let's give a hand to all the founders. They did a great job.
Good job.
All right. So I'm going to ask you one more question before we get into this. Now remember, everyone at home, you are voting for the winners. So everyone that's here, you can download the app and you can vote right now. It's actually live in the app. And for everyone that's at home, this is going to be cut and post-produced and ready in the next 24 hours. And we're going to start pushing that across the entire internet so that anybody in the world can watch these amazing pitches and vote to see who receives this $250,000 investment from Sweater and from our partners. So with that, I want to ask one more question, okay? You just put in a lot of time and a lot of emotional energy into preparing yourselves for this. So starting with you, Jake.
Oh, jeez.
I know, it's always fun to be first. What was your favorite or most valuable part of preparing to be on stage?
Oh, what did I go first? Well, I mean, honestly, it's just being so swept up with gratitude. I mean, just hearing your stories and just sharing the stage with you. But I think the most valuable time is just kind of like stepping back. Because sometimes as a founder, we ride the lows. So we have to remind ourselves to step back and just say, wow, we got to this point. And it's kind of just being grateful in that moment.
Thank you. Yeah. That's awesome. How about you, Nadia?
Honestly, I loved working with the Sweater team. I thought you guys were great. No, genuinely, like, it was just so nice. I mean, as founders, to Jake's point, like, we're so busy and we're wearing so many hats every day, and it's hard sometimes to, like, really think about what we're doing for a minute and take a step back and think about how other people view us. So this whole process was just an opportunity for me to really think about our cause and think about our products and our brand and everything. And it was just a nice experience, and yeah. And obviously meeting all the other founders. Yeah.
Wonderful. How about you two? Chelsea,
We answered together.
At the same time. No, you go.
I think for me, the most valuable part of this whole experience was being able to know that we were going to be sharing our story with such a large audience. Chelsea and I have built this from the ground up with obviously family and friends to support us, but it's always just the two of us, and we feel like we are the only two people that can be in it together, and meeting these other founders and sharing those experiences, I think, is what's really been valuable.
Wonderful.
Okay, I'll go last. I think the most valuable part about this experience was really just taking the time to look at things from a bird's eye view. To your points, we're always so in the nitty-gritty, in that one seam and how it's not right, and how we want to choose a different button. But taking a moment and zooming back out, I'm really grateful for that.
That's amazing. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And again, who wins this final prize is up to all of you. So make sure that you vote, make sure that you share with others that care about this, and let's shine a light on all of these founders as we spread this video around the world. Let's give them a final round of applause. Okay, I think that's it. Great job.